Welcome to the Drone MBA podcast, where we propel your drone career or business to new heights, discussing strategies, insights, and tips to navigate the skies of drone careers and entrepreneurship. Let's take flight into the business of drones. Hello there, and welcome to the first episode of the Drone MBA podcast. My name is Dr. Heather Monthy. I am a pilot, a flight instructor, a consultant, and entrepreneur with way too many years of experience in the aviation, education, technology industry. I am very excited to get this podcast started. I have a couple other podcasts in this feed from back in 2020. I have some airspace tutorials that I made available, the audio available over the podcast feed. So you'll find those in the feed as well. But this is our Drone MBA podcast, where we are discussing all of the different nuances about the drone industry, the business of drones, starting a career in drones, starting a business in drones. And what I wanted to do is start having conversations around what does this industry look like? It's going to change. It's changed a lot since it started. And wanting to just, get some insights from others that are having their own drone business, they have their own drone careers, and really get some voices out there sharing some of the things that people are doing in this area. I think that there's, a lot of really good drone podcasts out there talking about things like the different types of drone technology and, some of the news that's happening around drones and things like that. But what I want to do is let's really focus on what are the business opportunities here. What are the ways that people can, you get a drone for Christmas, you get a drone for your birthday, and you want to start a business around it. You want to figure out how you can get into this field as a career. There's a lot of really great growing drone companies out there that are looking for people who have some experience in this area, people that have transitioned out of the military that have some excellent experience in the unmanned aerial systems area. And so I just wanted to really get us all together and start talking about some of this stuff. I know that I had done several YouTube videos about some of the different opportunities that are available in the drone industry. I think it changes as the technology gets better. There's a lot more opportunities as well. So if you don't know me or who I am, we'll talk more about that later on in the podcast. But just very quickly, I am a manned aircraft pilot. I'm also a remote pilot, a flight instructor. I've worked in the education industry, specifically in technology education, for over 20 years. And it's really just been my role to work within the university system, technical schools, that kind of thing, to help them figure out where the technology industry is going and where they should be focusing their time and effort on different types of training. So things like cybersecurity and data science and all these really sort of emerging things, blockchain, all that good stuff, right? And I do see this huge opportunity in unmanned aerial systems, uncrewed aerial systems, drones, all these different terms that we have for them. There's a lot of opportunities here. So really starting to focus my efforts online on YouTube and the podcast, that kind of thing, in the UAS sector. So again, this podcast is really going to be dedicated to exploring the ins and the outs of the drone business, whether you're looking to start your own drone business, grow an existing one. This is really going to be a go-to resource for some practical advice and industry insights. It's not always going to be just me talking. Some podcasts will be just solo podcasts, but what I would like to do is get you on the podcast. So if you are getting started in this industry, you've been in this industry for a length of time, I'd love to have you on here and talk to you more about that. And we'll talk about how you can do that here in a little bit. My hope is to make this a weekly podcast. We're going to feature deep dives into different aspects of the drone business. We'll talk about marketing and how to find clients and building websites and social media and how do you navigate YouTube with regulations and all of this, all the things, okay? So that's what I want to talk about. But I also want to bring people onto the podcast who have created themselves a great drone career, a great drone business. And let's talk about some practical insights and tips for other people who might be coming up behind them in this particular industry. So not necessarily to talk about, here's how I use LiDAR, or here's how we do this, or let's talk about your business and how you got started and how you grew and how you figured out what services you were going to offer your customers. How did you find customers? All that really good stuff. So some of the other topics that we'll talk about are some of the drone regulations and how to navigate them. Understanding that I know that I have an audience that is in at least 7 different countries, so not just the US. So while the US does have regulations around remotely piloted aircraft, so do other countries. So does Europe, so does Canada, so does Australia, so does Africa. All of these different areas of the world have their own drone regulations. And what I hope to do is to work with training providers that have the training certification programs for those particular countries and make that available to you as well. So if you are listening and you know of a training provider that offers up the certification training programs in countries outside of the US, I'd love to talk to you as well. And then we'll also talk about different challenges, about things like, do you have to have the certifications? What certifications are required for you as the pilot? What certifications are required for the crew? What certifications are required for the aircraft itself? And how are we keeping up with those different areas of changing technology? So I'd love to hear from you. So I've talked a little bit about some of the people that I'd like to get on the podcast, some of the people that I'd like to talk with some more, and some people that I'd like to partner up with to offer things to you through this podcast. But I also want to hear from you on what are the challenges that you're facing in your drone business or your drone career. So maybe you've already started a business, you've started a career. What are some of those challenges that you have experienced? And what are some of those things that you would like us to explore here on this podcast? You can email me at hello@flyelectricmonarch.com. I will get a shorter email address, so it's a lot easier. But for right now, it's hello@flyelectricmonarch.com. We're on social media as Fly Electric Monarch, Electric Monarch Drone Education. We do have a Facebook group too, Business Strategies for Drone Pilots. You can post in there as well. And that is a great way to get us some feedback on what you'd like to hear in this podcast. So thank you for tuning in to this very first episode. Again, this is really just sort of an overview and highlights of some of the stuff that we're going to be doing and some of the things that are coming. So don't forget to subscribe to the Drone MBA podcast for weekly insights and all the things that we're going to be doing with this podcast. So until next week, keep your drones flying high within the required limits and keep your business goals reaching for the sky. We'll talk to you soon.